Hello, friends. Welcome back to Stylist Soul Tribe Conversations. I am joined today by Krisa Warren. She has been on the podcast before. How long ago was that, Krisa?
Oh, Lord, maybe a year? I don't even
Yeah, it was
know.
like one of the earlier episodes, and it was a year in November that the podcast launched. So it's probably been nearly a year since she's been on, and we just kind of shared her experience in Soul Tribe and in her own business on her last episode. And so much has taken place over the last year. So Krisa is now a member of the board of support, which Anna and I spoke about on an episode a few weeks ago. And I was just talking with everyone in the board of support, saying that I'd love to have them on podcast episodes. I'd love to have people kind of get to know them a little bit more, share more of their story. And she was like, hell yeah, let's do it. So this is going to be super casual, chit chatty, fun kind of conversation. We're going to talk a little bit of board of support. We're going to talk about what's actually happening in Chris's like behind the chair business right now. I think it's fun even just to like document this every so often and just some lessons that you're learning in real time. And if that can help any stylist, then beautiful. Cool.
Perfect.
Yeah, let's get into it. So, from your perspective, we were talking about just kind of chatting board of support, and I don't want to beat a dead horse or anything, but it is funny. I'll say something over and over and over again, and then I'll talk to somebody in Soul Tribe, and they'll still be like, "I have no idea what that is," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, so I guess I'm not beating a dead horse." So, in your own words, Krissa, especially because you've been so close to it now, she's been in board of support for 5 months now. Chris is renewing and staying in for another 6 months. What is it from your perspective? If you were speaking to someone either in Soul Tribe or not in Soul Tribe, that they're like, what is that? What is that new like shift or change that's happening? How would you explain it?
Sure. I mean, I guess I would say that it is just an extra layer of other ideas, viewpoints, support, and different
Perspectives.
perspectives, different
Yeah,
ways to look at things. Like you have said in the past, like you have so many good ideas and whatnot, but like you may feel like you're saying the same things over and over.
absolutely.
Perspectives that, maybe
Are
you didn't think
valuable.
of,
Hmm.
and, like different areas in different people's lives. So there's just different things, different ways that, we can tap into the knowledge of this 25-year vault of
Yep.
different things. And all of the different board of support people all have different perspectives and are in different ages and stages and paths in this industry. And it's
Hmm.
nice to have so many different viewpoints to help you support you in your role as a stylist or owner or whatever
Yep.
avenue you're in.
I announced Board of Support inside of Soul Tribe back in December, and then it started in January. We're recording this early May of 2025. I intentionally said, like, this is an idea I had. I'm going to test it out. This is very much a beta test. I'm fair to say we're still in the first 6 months. I would say we're still very much in beta testing, but I am surveying members a lot. Everybody who participates in creative initiatives, I'm surveying them. After a Board of Support member leaves a tribe group, I'm surveying them. How was that? How did that feel? What has been your takeaway? I am just in this moment in time so grateful and excited because the feedback that I'm getting is so good. And I was so nervous to announce this, and people don't like change, people don't adapt well to change. And I was so afraid of like pissing people off or shaking up too much or anything. But the feedback has been so good. And so you've been in, you probably don't know this off the top of your head, how many different tribes now? A lot.
2 to 3 per month.
And we're on going on our 5th month right now. So the way it works is a board of support member will join a group. They'll be in their Marco Polo group. They'll shadow the call. So I'll lead the call, but they'll be on there to listen to get some perspective. The following month, I'm not on the call. They lead the call. So we get my big mouth out and they get to share their perspective the whole time they're in Marco Polo. And then the third month, they kind of like taper out and just kind of share on Marco Polo and get to know everybody. But the thought and the point is that that relationship is formed, and there's been that like touch point that if someone experiences something at a later date, even when that board of support member isn't in their group, they have a connection with Carissa now. They can Marco Polo her. They can reach out. They can say, "Hey, I remember when you were working on this. I remember when gave me this feedback when you were in the board of support." And it really is just again expanding on that mastermind concept, which is how I started Soul Tribe in the beginning. It's not for me to have one way of teaching and to share, one size fits all approach. It's just to bring people together and hold space for open conversation. So it's been cool. Carissa did something kind of fun and new and really took initiative her last group of calls that she was on. And if you want to share a little bit, I forget what it's called, like squad analysis or something like that.
Yeah, so it's called a SWOT analysis,
SWAT, not
SW.
squad. Okay.
Yes. So it's a SWOT analysis,
Uh-huh.
and bigger companies use it. You can use it in your personal life, in your business, in your relationships. You can use it anywhere. And I learned it back in a class that I took It's basically, it's SWOT, SWOT. So your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats leads to whatever you're doing your analysis on. It was a lot to get through, but go back every month and you like look at this and you look at what your strengths were, what were your weaknesses, where could you have done better, what was threatening you in your business that month, and then it kind of just opens up your brain to like, you know, do better and whatnot. So
Yeah. And the feedback that I've been getting thus far, everyone you shared that with has filled out the form, and they are a group that has been together for a long time. So they've gotten to know each other. They're very comfortable with each other. It's like, those are my people, you know, like it's not, we're not in the beginning stages anymore. They're very comfortable with each other. But after so many years with the same group and with me being the coach, you start to know what other people think. Like you can be like, sure, I can bring this to the group, but I know what Lisa's going to say. I know what Caitlin's going to say. I know how this is going to go. And they all put in their survey, they were like, she brought a really fresh new perspective that made all of us just think in a way that we have not been thinking for the last like year, because we just kind of get stuck in the old ways. We know everybody in the group, we know what they're struggling with, and it's just kind of like throwing in a new thought process, and it just kind of like throws everyone off guard, like, wait, whoa, 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 this is different. But like, I never thought of it this way. And now finally, rather than just the Soul Tribe call being just like another thing that you kind of know what to expect, it's just kind of keeping people on their toes in a really good way. So I love that you brought that, because we didn't even talk about that. I didn't ask Board of Support to do that. Krisa was just like, I'm just going to try it and see how it goes. And everybody really loved it. So we'll definitely have to share that on our next Board of Support call, to just like keep that in our back pocket for a check-in every so often.
yeah, for sure. It was fun, and it was good to get to know each individual business of theirs as well a little bit differently, because from the outside looking in, even with being in the Marco Polo group the last month, you know, I've seen what they do, how they do it and whatnot. And so just to even dig a little bit deeper to be like, okay, what really is happening? If there's any breakthroughs that can come from that, then that's a win right there. Even if it's a small win, it's a win. So it helps move the needle forward. And
I also thought it was interesting. You sent me a polo after that group call and you shared with me what everybody said. And would you agree? I think maybe all five of them, if not four out of five. I think when you asked what the biggest threat was, everyone said themselves. Wasn't that
yeah,
everybody's answer?
I mean, I guess that's, I think we all struggle with that, like
Yeah.
imposter syndrome and like
Hmm.
not thinking we can make the money and do the thing and do the price increase and do that. Absolutely. You know,
Yeah.
like yourself is sometimes your biggest
Yeah.
obstacle, you know?
And sometimes even just calling it a threat in that way, like disarms it, because everyone around can be like, well, if you're the biggest threat, but you're also one that wants this to happen, like let's unpack that a little bit. And it can very easily be seen of like, oh no, that's like totally either made up in my head or a limiting belief or self-sabotage or something like that. Did all five people say that, or was there any other threat outside of myself?
I would have to look at my notes, but I mean, mainly, yeah, that was the
Thread.
common denominator.
That's so fascinating. And would you say that you do this monthly, or is that probably overkill? That's why it's just kind of nice when you come in and you add a little flair to it. Because probably your strengths, weaknesses, you said obstacles,
Opportunities, strengths,
opportunities.
opportunities, and threats.
Those probably
So,
don't really necessarily. Would you say those change month to month or not necessarily?
I mean, they could, like, you could have something
Yeah.
fall into your lap
Yeah.
the
An
last month
opportunity. Uh-huh. Yep.
that maybe wasn't there before. And
That's
so it
true.
could be an
Yeah.
opportunity.
Yeah. No, I love that. I wonder if there is a way that I can incorporate. So I'm also doing something newer called SST Jumpstart right now. I don't know if I can't remember what I've talked about where, but I am starting to kind of share that a little bit more too. I was quiet about it when I started it because I was testing it. I didn't know if it was going to work or what it was going to be like. And I have three people in it right now and it's going super duper well. It's basically like Stylist Whole Tribe on steroids for a short period of time. So it's a 3-month program where we meet weekly and it's a group that meets, but before the group meeting, it's a one-on-one with me and we build out a roadmap on that initial kickoff call, like basically saying, okay, for 12 weeks, here is what you're going to do for 12 weeks. And then they come onto the group calls every single week. So if, you know, come 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks in, they start to lose steam, they can go back to that initial roadmap. And it's actually working really well. And I'm really like loving this kind of format, especially because I feel like Soul Tribe has gotten to a place and there's so many resources and so many assets now that if you just drop a stranger in, they come in and they're like, what the hell is going on? Like, I do not know how, I'm not used to getting on Marco Polo. I'm not used to talking to all these people. It's just a lot of information. So I am really enjoying this new offer of Jumpstart of just kind of like spoon feeding these members some Soul Tribe assets, getting them acquainted, getting them used to it, getting them results. And then my thought is to move them into mastermind. And I hope that that will be kind of a smoother transition. But what we're doing in those weekly calls as well is very similar to Monday Magic, how I send out the form ahead of time just so I can like prep and make sure all the questions get answered, allocate enough time for it. I wonder if I could add something like SWOT into that. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to keep brainstorming on that. And I think you should definitely share it with the rest of Board of Support that that has been good. So you've been in multiple groups now. You signed for another 6 months. You're excited to do that. I remember when I initially brought this up to the three of you, Larry and Samantha, you guys were very much like, oh gosh, what is it? So like you were kind of nervous. I don't know if I can get on a call. I don't know if I can coach in that way. I don't know if I have the ability to do that. How has that shifted now that you've been in it for a little while? Because I feel like you seem much more confident going into these now than in the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I think that any new opportunity that
Mm-hmm.
there's obviously a lot of anxiety about it and like, can I do this? Will I even have
Mm-hmm.
anything worth to share? And so I think I've just realized in the last year or so, or 6 months, I should say, more so,
Yeah,
that there are things that I could bring to the table
a
for
lot.
knowledge and whatnot,
Yeah.
because again, we're our own worst critics. So like, I think it was you that said in one of our board of support calls that you don't have to recreate the wheel. You don't have to give these groundbreaking things, but be there and just give your ideas and
Yeah.
everything. And it may click and it may not. And I've definitely noticed some people that some things that I've said have clicked and have made an impact. Some things have not, and that's
And
okay.
that's okay. Yeah.
But just being there and giving a different perspective is all that matters. And then, and it's nice too, because I've had people come reach out to me after I've been in
Love.
their group and everything
Mm-hmm.
and tell me some nice feedback too, which has been great.
I love that. Yeah. And I had to remind myself of that for many years as I was initially building Soul Tribe. Because it's not, I mean, don't always, probably majority of the time, I don't have the perfect answer. I can hold space and facilitate a conversation and point them in directions and ask other people's feedback and connect other people. But that's really what a mastermind concept is all about. And so I just really tried to reassure the Board of Support members when they were like, why would you let me do that? I don't know if I should do that. I don't think I'm qualified to do that. What if I say something wrong? I'm like, you literally can't. I don't know. It's not like
Yeah.
I'm bringing you guys into these calls saying this is an expert in this field. Like, whatever she says, follow it to a T. That's not really the room or the space that we're trying to create. So you've also been on the receiving end of Board of Support now. You've had a member in your group instead of me. I'd love to hear that
Yeah.
interesting perspective that only a few of you have of being a member experiencing Board of Support and being on Board of Support. I'd love to hear how that's been for you.
Yeah, it was great. We had Larry in our group, and she is this amazing,
She's
wonderful
incredible.
salon owner that
Yeah.
is the most giving person and has the most brilliant ideas and the brilliant adaptations for all of her business. And so it was fun to be poured into because my tribe is a bunch of boss bitches that are
Mm.
successful, that have
Yep.
salons, and I'm the only one that's a suite owner. So like getting to hear, being able to sit in the background and just hear all of these ideas being poured into us and learning from everybody else in my group, and then having Larry, who just does all of the things. I don't know how she does all the things, but
I
she does
know.
things and she loves it and she thrives in it. So it was awesome to see how she does her board of support as well, because you gave us the creative freedom to do
Yeah.
whatever we wanted in these groups to like best serve the people that we're serving, because everyone is completely different. So
Yeah.
really nice to be able to have her in our group and give feedback and whatnot. And she's just wonderful.
She
So
is. She's
gets her
amazing.
is amazing. Whoever gets Samantha is amazing. We all just
Mm.
bring different things to the table of different experiences and different support. So
Yeah.
it's such an added benefit of Stylist Soul Tribe. And I'm so
Yeah.
glad that it was, brought to you
We're
and
off to a good
downloaded.
start.
And
Yeah. And we have, I'm not going to say yet who the two new people are, but we do have two new people who have agreed. So we're going to be announcing that, I think, in June. And I'm excited for that. But my intention truly is I don't see a world or why every single person inside of Soul Tribe could participate in this in some way, shape, or form. Obviously, I have to see how this continues to roll out. I have to continue to get feedback. But like my thought with it is, again, it's not like you need to have all the answers. Every human brings such an individual perspective that is valuable and that should hold space and that should. So if anybody ever has the desire to do that, especially the people who have been in Soul Tribe for years and years, and they're like, I know these are my people, like I love being in these spaces, but it is just getting like a little bit redundant for me. Like that's what my hope is, like, okay, we'll pour back in. Like let's continue to just create the container for exciting things to take place and then just keep building and building upon that. And so right now we're in the middle of Krisa did the first creative initiative, which props to you because I literally gave you like nothing to go off of. And we were like, okay, we're gonna start. What can you come up with? And you're like, okay, I'll try my best. We had a few people participate. That was a super fun conversation. Samantha's was more low key because that's Samantha. It was more private. It was more one-on-one. To no surprise, Larry is coming in big and hot. And I was just catching up on all of the balance chair Marco Polos this morning of everybody just like so vulnerably and so beautifully sharing their money stories, what money was like growing up, their, struggles that they have right now. And people are coming in just saying like, I have never been able to talk about this with people. My parents don't talk about it. My friends don't talk about it. I always have all these questions and these thoughts, but it's just this taboo thing. My husband doesn't even like to talk about it with me. And it's been so cool. I mean, we're only 1 week in and it has been so cool to see the conversations happening and taking place. So again, and even with these creative initiatives that I'm talking about, I don't really tell board of support members what to do. I'm just like, if you could provide value, what would you do? And like run with it. And we're only 3 rounds in, and I'm like, I can't even imagine what is going to continue to happen inside of Soul Tribe with this new like petri dish of just like creative space to add new things in. So if you want to add anything else to about the balance chair and how you're using that, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like with the creative initiatives from all of the members from Board of Support, it's cool because it'll live in the portal. So like you still kind of get access to some of the content, which is really good. All of us that have been in it have had more life-changing things happen, And so the fact that we can pour back into people who may resonate with our story, for those who aren't familiar with the creative initiatives, so Samantha did one that is more, like one-on-one.
We call them sessions with Samantha because that was just authentic to her. That's how she has been showing up in Soul Tribe for years. But she also has her comfort people and she made connections at retreats and became friends with certain people. And she wasn't really in a position to just reach out to everyone else. And so we opened it up like, who would like to experience some of this? And the feedback I got from the sessions with Samantha, she was so nervous about the surveys. It's been literally nothing but like 5 out of 5, 100% yes, I want to do this again. It was groundbreaking. And she was like, ain't no way. Like it's been so cool.
And she's so great for like accountability. Just wrapping up my board of support with her tribe right now. She's definitely in there like, okay, guys, what are we doing? How is everybody doing? How is, like she's a very good cheerleader.
She's so good at showing up for people.
And then Larry's is all about money management for business and personal and budgeting. And then mine was like daily habits, big life-changing like weight loss type situation happened. And so like what I do and how I show up every day. And that kind of was part of my creative initiative. And so the 2 people that are coming in, they have amazing working on their ones. And it's just a really great added benefit that this mastermind has, because it is all about, like you said, all about all the people in it and what we can give to each other. And you may forget about the resources that are
literally right here and that people are happy to share. We just need an organized format to be able to receive it. This is so fun. The fact that we're even talking about this and just hashing through it and looking back at it with that perspective, because for a while there was just like, here's what's coming, I don't know what to expect. But it is really cool to have like a little bit of traction behind us and feedback. And yeah, I feel very in alignment with all of it right now. It feels very fun. It feels very exciting. And it does truly, this isn't the point of it. The point of it is to add more value, because we've been kind of in the same place for a long time. And with me being the only person pouring into people, there's just really no way to like kind of scale beyond that. And I never wanted to lose what made it so special and important and what it's been. And it feels like this is really like a good, slow transition. It doesn't have to change. We can just add more in, which makes the container grow. And it's really freaking cool. And I feel really excited about it. So yeah, thanks for chatting with me about that, because I'm really lit up right now. When we were talking about what to talk about on this podcast, I was just kind of racking my brain of like what's happening in Krisa's world, what's happening in my world. I don't know the last time you went back and listened to your podcast, but this would be kind of cool, even if we do this like every single year, just kind of seeing where your growth is. So last year, I remember you did say, like, I want to hire an assistant. That's definitely next on my agenda. That's a big goal for me. That's something I want to do. And you I feel like what have been leading very intuitively for the last couple of years. And we've talked about, are you potentially holding yourself back? Are you afraid to make this investment? But I think that the stars have kind of been aligning and you've been waiting because it hasn't felt perfectly right. And I think you have a really cool opportunity that you're working with right now and a really exciting way to go about hiring your first assistant and getting support and help. So why don't you explain a little bit this relationship that you've built with this local school in case someone else is listening and there's something offered in their area as well, what this is going to look like, everything you're learning, all the things.
That's a perfect way of explaining it. It didn't feel completely right to hire
Yeah,
somebody yet. And then this whole externship through the local technical school, like just kind of fell into my lap. And like
love.
the head of the externship, I went to beauty school with her. And then
Synchronicities.
like a girl that I went to college with who just now does hair, her nephew's girlfriend goes to school there and she asked me about it like around Christmas time. Would you be interested in doing that? And then I didn't even know this was a thing. And then they basically are with you for the last 3 months of their schooling for 16 hours per week. And then you provide those hours of schooling that go towards their graduation.
So this is a program through the technical school where they're on the floor with educators inside the school setting up until how many hours did you say?
I don't know what hour count it is,
For
but
the
like the
last 3 months.
month
Yeah.
they are in the salon and
They
then
find a licensed stylist or a salon to work under to do like an externship. And so Chris has gotten connected with them. And I guess how did that initial, you went to the school, you kind of presented who you were and then everything that's taken place. Now, I so believe in synchronicities. I so believe in alignment. You're not somebody that makes excuses or holds yourself back. And that's why I haven't been pushing you this last year because it just hasn't been quite right yet. And you are going to know things are going to flow when it's right. And I feel like this is finally flowing. And it's like, this is what you've been waiting for.
yeah, I mean, it's pretty intense. Like the girls with their schooling, they have 1 month to see 24 salons.
Wow.
And I think it's just Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays is the only days that they can do it. So they're seeing
Wow.
3 salons per day for
That's
the whole
wild.
month, which is crazy. And a bunch of girls reached out to me like a month ago
Yeah.
asking if they could shadow me and explaining what the externship was. And the girl that I went to beauty school with teaches there. She's like, I didn't give anybody any lists, any names or anything. They just found you by,
Which
the
is crazy.
marketing
How
fund.
many people reached out to you?
I have, I think 8 girls. Their class size is 18.
So as these messages started to roll in, Chris was thinking, "Oh, we must be like getting started. They must have told them all the potential people to work with." And then this lady's like, "No, we didn't tell them anything." And Chris is just like, "Oh, wonderful." So these girls, especially, and I think that's such an interesting format as well, too, and way for them to structure it, because then those that really do take initiative are going to find the right alignment, are going to find the right people. So you've had some people shadow with you, explain how that's gone, and then once you choose, because you have to only choose one, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's kind of collaborative. They will choose which a week from tomorrow,
Okay.
they will pick their salons that they want to go to.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to okay it. But if there's more than one person that chooses the same salon, then we have to be a little bit more collaborative.
Okay.
So from what I understand, because this is my first year, obviously.
Yeah.
So they, in the beginning, the first 2 weeks, I had some people shadow, and then if they like you, they'll ask you to come back again to do,
Mm-hmm.
a second go round for more shadowing and stuff. So I
Yeah.
have 3 or 4 repeat girls coming back next week
Mm. Yeah.
to do, a final. But it's been cool because you can definitely tell the people that really are interested in, are go-getters and
Mm.
good fits and whatnot. I think it's a great program because I feel like in beauty school, you don't really see all of the possibilities, all the different
Yep.
salons and everything and what's going to be a good fit and like who has a non-compete and who has a 5 mile radius in their contract and like, is it a toxic salon? Is it not? What
Mm.
kind of future do you want to have? And then you can just experience all these different salons without, making a commitment, which
Well,
is
and
great.
I have a feeling that's why you have so many people interested too. And I don't know what all you shared when you kind of like presented or how they, because I remember you saying this. You're like, well, I'm not like a big salon. I'm only here a couple days a week. It's not like they get all that time. And I'm like, Krisa, that is exactly what is going to draw people in. Who doesn't want to work a few days a week, earn the income that you're earning, have the systems and the, boundaries and the practices that you're doing? Like, that's going to be so attractive to a handful of stylists. And I think we're seeing seeing that happen right now. And it's just a different way of thinking. And it's definitely going to be a different environment than a big salon. But I have a feeling that the people who are, when they're shadowing and the people that are attracted to you, I feel like I didn't know that that was a possibility when I got out of beauty school. That was,
Oh yeah,
I mean, that was in
never.
no way, shape, or form something that I could even comprehend. It was either like you work at a bougie nice salon or you work at a cheap chain salon. And like those were the only two options that I
Right.
thought existed.
Right. And I mean, that's the other thing too. All of these kids have been through the pandemic,
Mm,
have been through all of that. And like that whole mind shift change of what is important to them in their
yeah.
personal life, in their business life. Like they don't want to hustle like I had to hustle. You had to
Yeah.
hustle in the
Yeah.
beginning. The ways of hustling and building a clientele in this business are completely different,
They've
obviously, than what
changed
they
a
used
lot.
to be.
Yeah.
And so this business model of working 3 days a week, less than 20 hours, bringing in over 6 figures, that's
Yeah.
what, the ideal work life
It's
is. Who would
pretty
have thought?
freaking attractive. So is your thought that whether you end up with one or two, or who knows how this externship is going to play out, but are you thinking you will hire them as an assistant then right out of school?
Yeah, absolutely. You can
Okay.
only have one
Okay.
extern per
Okay.
salon, even if it's a bigger salon.
Understandably so. I'm like this with hiring people as well, of like, how do I justify the pay and how do I lay that out? And obviously there's going to be a little bit of loss in the beginning, and what's a normal amount, and when can I start to expect to churn a profit, and how do I lay that out to make the most out of it? Do I now have to start double booking to bring in more income to make it make sense? And I remember that really tripping you up for a while. And I think this is so cool because during the externship you don't pay them, but then you guys are going to get into such a groove and you're going to see how you can bring in that new income and how that can then turn into a true assistant program, which I think is so awesome.
It's so I'm just so blessed to have this opportunity
Yeah.
fall into my lap, and like it's the best way to be able
It's
to.
quite literally what you were waiting for. Like everything that made you nervous before, here's the solution of like, you don't have to be nervous about it. Here's
Right.
everything you need. Do you know if that's pretty common? Like, I wonder if Illinois is allowed to do that. How do you, if somebody's listening, they're like, well, I need that. How do they reach out to schools, present this? If somebody's
Yeah.
listening who works at a beauty school, do you know the ins and outs and the like, technicalities of all of that?
I mean, to be honest, I didn't know it was possible in Wisconsin until I
Okay.
this program, and I don't know if it's a new change of legislature or
Mhm.
whatever. I know that Molly Chapman in Stylist Soul Tribe, she had an extern as well, but that extern couldn't touch heads. In
Okay.
Wisconsin, you can touch heads if you so in Wisconsin you can touch heads, and they want you to have the externs
That's cool.
touching people,
Hmm.
you see fit. And then you can also have them bring in school, like you can have them charge people
Cosmetology school prices.
cosmetology prices and, have them get practice that way as well, which I think is genius too, because they don't
And
have.
that income then comes into your business. Like that's how the paper trail works for that, which is, I mean, what a cool setup that is with that school. I mean, it's like truly everybody wins. The teachers don't have to work as hard. The students get real life experience. It's such a blessing to the stylist. It's a blessing to your clients. I mean, it's just like a all the way around perfect
Yeah.
solution. So do you know like the technical name? I mean, I know it's an externship. Anything else that people like they wanted to start to do some research?
I mean, I would just reach out to your board of cosmetology in your state and just ask about externs. Externs are different than interns.
Yeah.
Because I believe intern you have to pay, extern you don't. Every single state is going to be different. That would be my only suggestion is reaching
Yeah.
out and then seeing, because I don't think like Kimber's state, I don't think they do
She's
that.
Indiana. Yeah, so then we'll check back in a few months and we'll see how all this is going and how your new assistant is doing. And we can share it. You did Lacey Gibo's like assistant university. You're very much wanting to follow that, right? Like you really
Yes,
like all the
absolutely.
information that you took from that. So yeah, I think that's so cool. And I think there's a lot of people that are probably in the position that you were in for a while of like, I know I want that to be my next step, but it's such a big next step. And it's like, what do I do? I do think this is such a cool solution. So I'm really curious to know how many states allow that. And if anybody's listening to this and you know any information on that or want to continue that conversation, it's fascinating to me. I think it's definitely, if there's not many more states that are doing it, they should jump on the bandwagon. Because like I said, it really does feel like a win-win-win-win-win across the board. In the beginning, are you going to have them shampoo, blow dry? Are you going to have
Mhm.
them apply color? Or, how are you going to, how
I
slowly
mean,
are you
I,
gonna roll
I'll
that out?
I'll follow the whole like Lacey Gibo
AU. Hmm.
assistant university to, check things off a list as to
Yeah.
how many models you bring in and whatnot. But absolutely
What order to
get their
turn
hands
in?
and heads as fast as I can because
Yeah.
mean, that's what they want to do. They don't want to stand there watching,
Yeah.
like that's the one feedback that I got from somebody yesterday. One of the girls that was shadowing yesterday, she's just like, I know that we need to watch and experience a lot of different salons, but she's like, by the third week, it's like
Just let me in there. Yeah.
watching for 3 weeks. We want
Yeah.
to
It's like
do.
watching paint dry. I
Yeah.
mean, let me in there, let me play around. And I taught a color class not that long ago, and I've never done a true hands-on color class like that. I did it at Grace's salon, and I was a little nervous going into it 'cause like, what am I doing? I'm so used to teaching business, and I did like a lived-in color class, and I let these newer super green stylists, like fresh out of beauty school within 6 months, do a couple foils. Like I did it, and then I showed them how I did it. That was totally me too. You don't realize once you've been doing something for so long, these intricate details that you could literally close your eyes and you
Muscle
could do it in
memory.
your sleep. Yes, it was so wild for me to watch them take over and fumble. I remember that. I have not thought about that in so long. It happened so slowly over time that you're just like, whoa, I don't know. And talking about getting hands in the hair, absolutely. As these girls were watching, the things that they were saying, I was like, oh, they know how to do all this. But then they took the comb and they took the brush, and it was like, oh, damn, no, it takes so much practice, and you forget once you become kind of a master at something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to do the teaching part. And it's a cool program all in itself. Like after COVID, they shut down their school salon and they weren't doing any of that. So this was to replace it.
Oh.
They have their school salon where they do models and they can bring in models and they do each other's hair. But like their true, like taking clients or whatever, like on the school floor is replaced with this program.
Which is so cool because I just think back to like taking clients on the floor and like the type of people that would come in.
Exactly.
And like, I mean, this is such a blessing of like, here are real paying clients. Cause I think we also then get into that trap and going back to the money conversation and stuff from cosmetology school, like that's how you build your beginning clientele. It's so hard to outgrow those, that type of clientele and think about things. How do you go from an $8 haircut to $108 haircut? Like that's a very hard jump. But if you're in with your target market people, they're fully aware you're learning, there's someone supervising. It just seems like that sets them up on such a good trajectory to not have to undo all the shit that we had to undo for a while.
I mean, the clientele that comes into a beauty school salon floor to get their hair cut is going to be a different clientele than somebody coming into a full-fledged salon.
Absolutely.
And so you can kind of see different things. It's just a different environment. So I think it's going to be beneficial for everybody all around.
Love, love, love. Can't wait to hear how it continues to play out. I think that's about everything I wanted to go over. Anything else on your mind, on your heart that you feel like we didn't touch on that we should say, or you feel pretty good?
No, this is a really good conversation, and I hope more people, know now about the board of support and the different things that Soul Tribe is implementing and doing to support like-minded people. And I think it's a great thing that you're doing for the
Thank
world
you for
of
saying that. Yeah, I'm grateful for you. Awesome. All right. Thank you everyone for listening. If there's any resources for anything that we talked about with Krisa today with all these assistant things, I will put them in. I'll also just put Krisa's Instagram as well so that if you want to reach out, if you really were interested in any of the things she said and you want to pick her brain, you can totally do that. Thank you again, Krisa, for joining me. Thank you everybody for listening, and I will talk to you all next week. Bye.